Welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner Podcast. My name is Coach Scott. I'll be your host today. Guys, I got a great show for you today. Got a great guest. Going to bring him on in just a minute. As always, you can find this and the back episodes of our podcast at our website, ordinarymarathoner.com. Check that out if you get a chance. Can also find them at the aggregators, places like Stitcher, TuneIn, iTunes, Google Podcasts, all that great stuff. Also got our YouTube channel up and running, so you can check out the podcast there as well, along with a lot of the live streams of the Zwift rides that we've been doing. If you're on Zwift and you want to join us, we have a great time every Thursday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. Join us up for the Zwift rides. Just reach out to me, follow me on Zwift, and I'll send you the invite, and you can join along. We've been doing music trivia the last 2 weeks. It's been a lot of fun. You can check out the live streams on the YouTube channel. I think the last live stream blew up a little bit. You know, we're having bandwidth issues here. We got my daughter home all day. She doesn't have any practice, no school, no nothing like that. So, you know, she's on the iPhone and the iPad and the computer. And then I got Steph on her phone and streaming video upstairs on the TV. And it's craziness. It's just, you know, it's a battle for bandwidth here. And unfortunately, I think this past Thursday night, Zwift and the live stream lost that day. So I don't know. But we do live stream it every Thursday night. It's fun. It's a fun time. And reach out to me if you want to join there. You guys can see the shirt. I'm wearing the shirt from 2 years ago. This is a fashion, it's a fashion juggernaut is what it is, this shirt. It is a collector's item, I think, by now. For the Ordinary Marathon, it is our virtual race. We're doing it again this year from May 8th until May 17th. It's a 10-day virtual race. It goes to benefit the SAM Fund. You can go to ordinarymarathon.com. It's $30 to register for the race, but if you use the coupon code ORDINARY, you get $5 off from there. And really, it's 10 days of just celebrating running and supporting one another, getting out there, taking pictures of yourself while you're running, giving away a lot of prizes. We give away prizes every single day of the race. And I think I still have the medal here. Yeah, the medal's right here. This medal is no joke, guys. I'm telling you, this medal is no joke. This is a real medal. It's good stuff, and you got to register though in order to get one. TeamOrdinary.com. It's our running / triathlon team. All really athletes of all sports can join the team. Go to TeamOrdinary.com. Check that out. You get a hat. The hats have been awesome, guys. This hat. Stephanie actually washed my hat, and it came out really good. And it doesn't even when you wash a hat, it gets really run down and raggedy. This thing held its shape. It held everything together, and it looked pretty good. I was actually surprised. Normally, I wouldn't even let her wash the hat. I'd just be like, just throw it away. At that point, if you're washing the hat, just throw it away. But this thing really, you can get one by joining the team at TeamOrdinary.com. We have coaching deals over there through the team. So if you're looking for a coach, or if you just have questions you want answered, you just want a consultation, reach out to me. We can talk. You know, I've actually done some consultations where they didn't hire me as a coach, but they've learned some things in the discussion, and they were able to kind of just formulate their own sort of workout template regimen training program for whatever they're training for, whatever event they're training for. So if you're looking for something like that, reach out. We'll do a free consultation. I got absolutely no problem on that. Without further ado, let me bring in today's guest. He is a member of Team Ordinary himself. He is just an incredible Zwift rider. I see him riding on Zwift almost every single day. He rides with the team a lot. Let's introduce him right now. Mike Romans, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
We are missing the NFL draft.
Well, you're missing the NFL draft. I've got it on in the background. I've just got it muted. So, all
right. Well,
if you hear me yell, good thing you can edit this. That's all I can say.
It is round 3 for Jets fans. That means it's the Christian Hackenberg round. So we tend to just pretend that round 2 doesn't exist.
Well, I think after round 2, you guys are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. So.
Right. We don't. Nothing ever kind of seeps down from round 2 and lasts on the roster too much longer anyway. But we do have a new GM this year, so I'm a little hopeful. For that. Yeah, I like their first round pick. I thought it was all right, but definitely when I scheduled the podcast, I totally blanked on that was the NFL draft. So we'll rush you in and out of here.
Yeah, we're good. Vikes don't pick for a while, so I'm good.
So I think one of the things that we did recently, and I definitely wanted to thank you for it. I wanted to thank you on the podcast for it. Is I did an FTP test. We did the FTP ramp test, and we did it as a group. And it turned out, I invited a few people. I didn't know how it was going to work for a group. I was a little concerned because I didn't know how, if one person stops pedaling in the group and the other one keeps going, is it going to ruin the test for that guy? So it was a little bit experimental, but you were the only one that took the bait and came with me. We live streamed it, and I wanted to thank you for that.
Oh, I appreciated doing it because it's, it kind of gives that extra little oomph when there's somebody else. And I told a couple of the people, I talked to Matt and I talked to Aaron, and I said, I'm like, okay, I gotta beat him. I'm just a competitive guy when it comes to that. I'm like, I gotta beat him in his own. And you beat me by 1 watt.
Yeah. What was your FTP?
344.
244.
Or 244.
Right, I was
245.
But in all fairness, you did say that your erg mode kind of went dead.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I think I something slipped, or I don't know what happened.
You know what? Can I tell you? So I had tried the ramp test a couple days earlier, and I was trying to also test my functionality instead of live streaming, just to record it and see if I could record it on the PC, which totally didn't work. But when I did it, I was in a lower gear, and as I got up to about 280 watts, whenever I would push the pedal, the tire would slip and it wouldn't work, and so I was pushing as hard as I could. And the watts were supposed to be 280 in erg mode, but because the tire was slipping, I was only getting like 240, and I had to kind of stop. And I realized what it was because I was in a lower gear, and I just had to get into a higher gear, and then it wouldn't slip as much. So maybe you are due for a second go at that. See, I'm giving you a good excuse, man.
Well, that's good because I think you're just building into the fact that I'm gonna hit you by 20 on the next one.
Oh, you are. You're gonna crush me. I mean. Yeah. Look, man, you pull me around that track week in and week out. We do group rides, and I look down and you're always like pushing 3 watts per kilogram, and I'm like always like around 1.8. So you're crushing me. So I kind of expected you to beat me pretty handily, to be honest. And I'll give it to you. And I just, I feel like you're being kind.
Well, thank you. It's a lot comes from my background. I was a weightlifter for a while and did some bodybuilding and things like that. So I've got quite strong legs. So I expected a lot more out of myself. So that's where it comes around. Where the hills are definitely my specialty when it comes to the Zwift rides and stuff.
I'm sitting here at like 235 pounds, so it's like I think it's harder for me. What dare I ask you what you weigh?
Depends on the day, between 165, 170. Depends on how many black jelly beans I eat.
I love the black jelly beans, although I can't stand them myself, but I love that you enjoy them so much. If I ever see any, I'm going to buy them and just ship them out to you.
I'd appreciate it. I had a student bought me 3 bags. His grandma found them on clearance after Easter and bought me 3 bags.
That's incredible. You just love the black jelly beans. Huh?
That's what I love about Zwift is I don't have to worry about taking them with me, so I don't have to worry about them getting all sweaty. I can fuel with what I want. I don't have to I don't have to take any of that into consideration. I can
stacks.
I could set a steak dinner on my table if I wanted to.
That is, it is one of the pluses, I think, to Zwift. That I remember actually when I first started, I was using a nutrition product that it came in like two different types of bars, and one was like chocolate covered. And if I went out on a sunny day and I put it in the back of my shirt pocket, and I reached for that chocolate covered bar in the middle of a sunny day, forget it. There was no eating it. It was just terrible. But indoors, you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. Well, I watched the guy when I did my first marathon in Duluth, Minnesota. I watched the guy pull a peanut butter and jelly sandwich out of the back of his shirt, and I'm like, that didn't come from a bag. Like, he just straight up
just there.
Peanut butter. It was just there, straight up peanut butter and jelly sandwich right out of there. And I'm like, yeah, I'll stick with my gels.
Yeah, that's pretty gross. I don't know, man. So listen, you joined Team Ordinary about 2 or 3 months ago. And, we've been riding together now since then, right? And it's been an awesome experience, right? I mean, I'm like convincing myself, right? You're having a great time, right?
Oh, it is. No, it is. I've talked a lot. I've talked a lot about it to a lot of people. In fact, and Matt, I'll have to tell you one day, my wife and I were sitting around talking, and I said something about how I had to go Zwift because I had to keep my streak. I'm trying to get the unemployed streak with being home. Yeah. With being home and teaching from home, it's much more attainable. And she said that badges were stupid. And So, I mean, we know how Matt
That's
feels
fighting
about
words right
matches.
there, right?
So, yeah, right. Well, I won't say on record what he told me to do, but they got into a conversation, and I just talked about how motivating this is, because and what really drew me to it is ordinary. I mean, I'd been involved, and I think my original draw to this was I happened to see a post that Matt made in one of the other triathlon groups, and a lot of them are Ironman groups, and I haven't gotten to the Ironman brand yet, just because I live in North Dakota, and the closest one here is Ironman Wisconsin, and that's also been dubbed one of the hardest triathlons, at least Ironmans, at least in the United States. And so travel's tough. I mean, obviously I have the ideal schedule with being a teacher, but just haven't been able to financially do it and whatnot. But what really drew me to it was the ordinary, just because I'm an ordinary guy. It's not like I'm not going to be pro. Nobody's, GU isn't going to give me a call anytime soon.
It's, it's kind of an interesting group, and I've let it, I've kind of let it grow kind of on its own. It's really been an organic growth, and we have like 1,200 people in our discussion group now. I don't really go out and try to recruit a ton of people. But what's interesting is we get a lot of people from different skill levels. We get people who run ultra marathons and have done multiple Ironman races, but they still have that like tie to they just want to feel ordinary. And, I say you go on some of these pages, and I don't want to name them, but sometimes you go on these pages and there's really like the ego level just is sky high. And it's like, not that I feel like I don't belong, but I feel like I don't belong.
No, I totally hear you, and that's exactly where I was going. And some of them, they're talking about some of the equipment that you need, and and I was catching myself. It's like, oh man, I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have this, and I can't do I can't do an Ironman. And pretty soon, I'm like, okay, my bike's gonna look like, I'm a carrier service, and it's gonna weigh. I went and spent a bunch of money on a lighter bike, and I'm going to end up putting so much stuff on it because all this gear that everybody tells you got to buy. Yeah. And now it's like, I mean, when you go and you talk to regular people that have done Iron, I'm not going to be on a podium in an Ironman. I just want to finish one. I want to hear.
You could do well, by the way. I think you could do real well.
I think with some training, I'll be okay. I'm getting out of the age group now. That's really, I've done a couple sprint triathlons. That's kind of what I got. That's what I got started in. And it was frustrating because the age group that I'm in, the 30 to 39 age group,
very competitive,
hugely competitive. Yeah. And I shaved 2 minutes off of my time in a sprint triathlon. So I thought, oh man, I'm going to be crushing things. And I dropped 4 spots from my previous year. My goal was to get in the top 10. And because I was 11th or 12th last year, and I ended up going down to 15th, and I'm like, who got into this thing that it was tough.
Yeah, there's 2 things you got to battle, right? You have to battle your own sort of base fitness to get better, and then you have to battle the growth of the sport, because the sport itself, triathlon, whether it's triathlon or even running, and maybe there's been a little bit of a hiccup in the last year or two, from what I understand, but I don't know personally. But in general, I feel like the sport is constantly growing. It's more accessible. You see people more and more people year after year saying, I know I'm not, historically speaking, someone like me shouldn't be able to run a marathon, but I'm going to go after it and try it. And the fact that people do it and do it successfully opens it up to so many more people. And I think when people start seeing other people race and they just kind of join in. So you're not only battling your own fitness and just getting better, but you're also battling the growth of the sport and all these new athletes. And also you get all the new people that come into your age group that weren't there, that 1 year ago. It's just, I guess that's got to be frustrating.
Well, truthfully, it was, and I think I found, I didn't really realize it at the time, but I found out later that the crew that kind of came in and destroyed me actually stayed at the same hotel as me. And, we sat out in the park, like it was a kind of a U-shaped hotel, and they had a trailer with, like, these guys were set up. I mean, they were triathletes. They drove around and just did sprint triathlons. And I mean, we were talking, they were doing their bikes, and I'm just like, whoa, and I think that's really who came in and did it. But, that's part of what drew me to triathlon in the first place, is just the battle. I mean, that's that's really what I've kind of gone to, and with fitness and with life, just the battle. And
Yeah.
I've said that, running and exercise is the most underused antidepressant, and that was something that really hit me hard when I kind of started into my mental health treatment. Is about the same time when I got into a sprint triathlon is when I really started to get serious about treating my own mental health, and just getting rid of the stigma that, I'm a big tough guy, I'm a teacher, I'm a firefighter, I'm not supposed to be sad, I'm not supposed to be anxious, I'm not, nothing's supposed to bother me, I'm supposed to be big and tough. And and that's what I loved. I tried the bodybuilding realm, but I didn't want fitness to become a vanity. I've got a teenage daughter. I've got another daughter that we're in the process of adopting. And, I didn't want them seeing fitness as a vanity. So I thought, okay, well, if they can see me grow with this, we can plan triathlons around different places that they can go and vacations. Yeah. And that's what we've done, and I made the mistake the other day of letting slip that I wanted to do Ironman Wisconsin, because then they immediately thought of Wisconsin Dells, which happens to be an hour away from Madison. So, that's something that I don't think I'm going to have any troubles convincing at least the kids to, partake in something like that. So,
all right. So let's kind of regroup here, and we'll circle up and kind of circle the wagons again. One daughter and then one adopted daughter, which I got to be honest, I think I'm going to give clap my hands for you. I feel like personally, when I see other people, especially people who know that they can give children a good home, they go out and they adopt a child into their family. I think that's one of the most selfless things that you could possibly do, and I give it to you for that. So thank you.
Well, no problem, and that's only half of it. I've actually got an adopted son and another son that we're in the process of adopting as well. So we will in the next few months go from a 2-child, legally speaking, a 2-child family to a 4-child family. Now, these kids have been in our house, and I mean, from day one, these kids are ours. It's kind of funny that both of these two that we're adopting were supposed to be just weekend respite placements, and they haven't left yet, so they're not gonna.
So let me ask you this then, from just hearing what you've been saying. How important is it to you? I mean, obviously you're gonna have 4 kids, man. I have 2 and I'm overwhelmed sometimes. How does that whole mental health come into play? I mean, obviously, you can't be waving in all these adopting all these kids without having a strong base. And how does that weave into the story there?
Well, I won't say that every day is perfect, and where I, to make a lot of talking short, what I really feel is, it's what my wife and I are doing is it's considered traumatic foster care. In order to be in this level of foster care, the kids have to have some sort of what's called an Axis 2 diagnosis, and that can go anywhere from, ADHD to PTSD or anything in between. And I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But where I really fit into that picture with my mental health story and with my struggles and triumphs is, I was 36 when I started my journey and when I started my healing. If I can take 30 years off of their journey, then I get it. Then it's, they're 30 years ahead of me is how I think of it. And, I tell people a lot of times, there's people that say, I don't understand this kid. I don't understand what they're going through. And honestly, you don't. The only way to understand some of those mental health things is to go through it. And there's not a single person that I'd wish that upon. But when some of the kids are going through their struggles and, whether it's flashbacks, whether it's just, reactions to different things, I get that. I understand that. And I'm able to handle it a lot differently than, a general, person off the street would. And, there's times when I'm not going to, again, say that I'm the perfect, most calm individual in the universe, where, there's times when kids are kids, whether they're, they've got mental health and not, and kids get frustrating. And, I'm a part of that too. But when it comes to the mental health side, it's almost like that's when I shine, is because I'm able to give them different strategies. And that's where, it comes into play too. I'm also, a full-time special ed teacher where my caseload is mainly kids with emotional and behavior disorders. And it's really helped to combat some of that stuff and to be able to give those kids strategies and those kids different things. So, I really sometimes questioned at first why I was going through what I was going through in my head. And this is really the answer to it. The fact that I can help these kids and these people. And, that's what I want to do with fitness. That's why I make the fitness posts that I make. That's why, I do like to do things like this.
Yeah, you beat me to the punch there. I was going to ask you, like, how do you, was fitness sort of like, did it just help ground you and then kind of put you in this mode where you're able to sort of give more of yourself and be more of a, I guess, kind of a role model, or at least someone who's a place where, these kids can rely on, sort of like a rock for them? Was fitness, did it set the base for you, or is it also something that you try to get them involved with? Like, if they're having the problems like you're talking about, is it something that, that you share? You say, hey, this is how I deal. This, sometimes I just need to get on the bike, or I just need to go for a run, or do you ever weave that in as well? You can answer either one of those, however you see.
Yeah, well, they're all the same answers, yes. And when I did my first triathlon, it was kind of I stumbled upon it. I was at work. I was having just a tough day. I mean, it wasn't anything bad. I wasn't angry. I was down. It was like nothing I was doing was working. And for some reason, this advertisement for a sprint triathlon came up that was sponsored by Young Life, which is a religious organization and whatnot. And, me, my wife always tells me that I'm one of the most impulsive people she knows. And just on a whim, and this was in 2017, just on a whim, I signed up for this triathlon. And that was before I had a bike. I didn't have a bike, and I didn't know how to swim.
Yeah.
And
that sounds familiar.
That was in April, and then the triathlon was in August. So, yeah. I mean, my daughter was on the swim team at the time, so her helping coach me. My sons would love to, on my runs, they would follow me on their bikes, and they would go and they'd ride beside me, and they'd run ahead of me and trying to get me to run faster. And sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't, and where it really got affirmed was, my son, who was, at the time, especially really kind of going through some hard times last August when we went, to the point when, we almost didn't go to this triathlon, but, he knew how important it was to me. And he said, he's like, they had a kiddie race, and he said, I want to run this kiddie race. And I mean, this was from anywhere, up to 11 years old. Yep. And he was, at the time, he had was just about to turn 7. So he was 6 at the time. And, so he's up with a bunch of kids, and they took off. It was I can't remember if it was a 1 mile or a 1K race. And he took off like a cannon. And I thought, oh man, he's either going to peter out and cry, or he's going to throw up, one of the two. And so I went around and I went to the finish line, and lo and behold, he was still trucking along, and he took second place overall in the entire race. So he was just jacked. And then he told me right after that, he said, Dad, I want to be the youngest kid ever to do this triathlon. And I mean, the minute he said that, I was going online trying to find
right.
Youth triathlon bikes, and I'm like, okay, that bike's more expensive than the one I've got. Like, I'm not, we'll maybe wait with that. And
that's funny.
So yeah, I mean, they really, and I've got, where it's nice now is I've got my bike downstairs, and so on the long rides, especially, they like watching the, sometimes I'll put your live stream up on the TV. A lot of times they won't let me because they're playing Minecraft, but right. Sometimes I'll get to the TV before they do, and I'll YouTube it, and they'll watch us all, and they'll.
That's pretty cool.
They got a kick out of it, so it's nice to include them.
Yeah, we got to make sure we watch our language on then. Next time I'm gonna have to make sure I tell Jenna and Aaron.
Oh, Yeah, no kidding. They're bad. They're bad influence.
But yeah, I don't know if you saw the live stream from this past Thursday night, but it actually got cut off. So I lost my signal for like a minute, and I got dropped. And then when I came back on the live stream on YouTube, it only captured the second half. So all of our trivia stuff, it missed all of that first half and only captured the second half. Which I was like over a minute back, and I caught up. I'm sure some of that they reeled me back in. Well, you understand that concept.
Oh, yeah.
Although no one really understands it. I think that's the whole problem. People, people get dropped from the ride every once in a while. We had a guy get dropped this past week, and I don't know why. And he was pushing hard. It's just that mode. It's like they still haven't perfected it. There's something a little off with that, but.
I think there's a lot of things that eventually they'll fix, and I think now that everybody's on there, they're realizing some of these glitches that they probably wouldn't have realized before. So it's probably a good thing in the long run.
And I got to tell you, I think they really missed out. I think that so many people are on Peloton bikes that have bought Peloton bikes, and I really think, man, with the amount of money you spend on a Peloton bike, you could have bought yourself your own actual bike and a trainer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Zwift is a lot cheaper than the Peloton month to month. And, I don't know. I always get the feeling I'm out there riding with a bunch of pros on Zwift and I'm like the slow guy, but, it's, I don't know. I feel like they could have reeled in a lot, sort of like the more ordinary, I would say
I think so. And I really tried to, people know that I'm kind of a fitness guy. So they had asked, oh, what kind of, what kind of Peloton? And I'm like, no, get this kind of a setup. I tried and it didn't, people are like, no, I just want this.
They just want, right.
All right.
You see something on TV, you kind of like, oh, I could do that. And it looks pretty easy and they just go for it instead of the, we can take our bikes off the trainer and go outside, and they can't. Yep. So I don't know. Anyway, that's my little, no,
I hear you. I could talk
anti-Peloton thing. So let me ask you this. So you've done a bunch of sprint tries. What's the longest try that you've done so far?
Just sprint ones. Well, and I say sprint that I actually ironically won, I talk about the first, I actually won my first triathlon that I ever did.
Wow.
It was a small town one. It was a week before it was a week before that, the one that I had told you about. And all I wanted to do was enter it because I didn't want the reason that I didn't do as well as I wanted, because I didn't want it to be like, oh, I wish I would have thought of that, or I wish I would have brought this or done this, so I wanted to kind of get the kinks out of it, if that makes sense. So I just, entered this small town. They had this fundraising triathlon, and the swim was supposed to be a 400-yard swim, and it was going to be like a 10-mile bike ride and a 5K run, and it ended up being an 800-meter swim because they told the timekeepers the wrong amount of lap. Like the timekeepers considered a lap down and back.
Ah, okay.
They wanted a lap considered down, so they got the times mixed up. And I contend that they made me do an exit. Like they had a loop kind of in the bike. Well, this is small town North Dakota, so luckily I had emailed the director and asked what kind of bike I should bring, and he said, well, if you have a mountain bike, bring a mountain bike. Because if I would have had a road bike, there's no way I'd still be there.
Yeah.
But because there was a section of it, probably a quarter-mile section of the bike ride that was literally down some guy's section line. It wasn't like it was crazy.
Yeah. I understand. I took my daughter out the other day and we went on a local golf course. And what I forgot was that the cart paths actually, they end and you have to, the cart has to drive on the grass, which is fine. And my daughter's got like a little sort of like BMX style bike with, fatter tires. And she was actually fine, but I'm on my road bike and, and my daughter's she takes off and I'm like, my tires are spinning in the wet grass. I'm like, wait up. To a 10-year-old daughter, my 10-year-old daughter, wait up.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of actually how the try ended is, the 5K run ended in about and I joke now that hills are my specialty on the bike, but they definitely weren't in the run at that time, because the 5K ended on an enormously large hill going up to the finish line. It was brutal.
Yeah.
How they couldn't just flip that thing around and have it end on a flat, I don't know. But
yeah,
it was cool, because I ended up, like I said, I had a boost of confidence that I really needed at that time, and because I was nervous. First try, am I going to be able to do it?
Probably everyone
So
else had a road bike. That's probably why you won.
I think it was. Yeah, I'm not going to lie.
I don't want to knock you down. I don't.
No, that's 100% probably what it was. Is that, and I don't think there was a lot. There was a lot more females than males. They had, where I felt good about it is they had, and actually I don't know that they had so much road bikes. But they had like the, $50 Walmart Huffies that they were going on, and my mountain bike isn't. It's a Specialized whatever. It's not top of the line, but it's definitely not a Walmart special either. So, just having that better equipment, I think, definitely did help. But where I felt good about it is they had made the swim team go on this, do this triathlon,
right.
And at first I was just brokenhearted, because I was literally the second to last person out of the pool. And, because, part of it was because
Dude, they're on the swim team, man.
But then, they're on the swim team, but like I gave it my all in the first 400, and I was shot in the water, and it was literally me and about a 78-year-old woman left in this pool. And so I knew I had some work to do, and
all the way back.
Luckily,
came all the way back.
Well, it did, and I don't know that transition meant anything to them, because I had my, I was legit. I had my tri-suit and whatnot, and they didn't. So that really helped me catch up a little bit and whatnot. So it was cool.
So all right, so you've done a bunch of sprints now, and I know you mentioned Ironman Wisconsin. By the way, I've heard really good things about Ironman Wisconsin. We were in Lake Placid 2 or 3 years ago, and we ran into somebody, and we were just talking to them as we were checking in the bikes, and she said that this was the last she had done every single Ironman in the continental U.S., and that her favorite of all of them was Wisconsin. Believe it or not.
And I've heard a lot of people say that. The only thing that's really got me nervous, and I know it shouldn't, is the fact that it's a very, very hilly course.
Yeah. I think it's similar to Placid in that respect. I from what I understand, I don't know for sure, but I know you can hack it. I've seen you ride on Zwift. I know you can hack it. You'll be fine.
Well, it's not the bike that gets me. It's the doing the hills and then getting off and running.
Yeah, it's a long day, dude.
My first one that I'm going to do, it's just for training purposes, I think, is, and for right now, my aspirations were to do a full, but just for training purposes, I think I'm going to stick with the 70.3s for now. Just,
no, that's smart.
It's with having the kids around, and I don't want to, I train early in the morning usually. Now, like I said, with working from home and being home, it's easier to do that and to justify that.
We did the FTP at 1 p.m. right in the middle of the day.
Right.
Hey, you want to do it?
And they were up. And I'm like, okay, you guys, this is quiet reading time, and any words that you hear downstairs, whenever you do it. And so, it was good, but to be able to devote the time to train for a full might be. It's a lot difficult.
It's a lot of time.
It is.
It's funny. Like I kind of started in running, and I got up to full marathon, and I started, like, my marathon times were slower and slower, and I'm like, I really need something new. So I did the Ironman. And then the second year I did the Ironman, I DNF'd the Ironman, and I'm thinking, all right, so I gotta continuing my thought pattern. I got to do bigger and better than Ironman, but I just don't have the time. It's just insane.
Right.
It's just, I can't do any better than I'm doing. There's no other hours in the day for me to train. This is as good as it gets. But I do like your strategy of going after a 70.3 first. And I think, it kind of leaves you some room, right? It leaves you some room at the top end there, where if you do the 70.3 and you say, that was fun, that was awesome, it gives you that appetite for the big one,
It does, and I definitely have it, because like I said, it's one of my lifelong dreams just to hear Mike Roman's "You Are an Ironman," just to be able to hear that, like, and
change your life, man. Change your life.
It's insane, and I think, and I had this thought process too with, when I trained for my marathon, when I did my first marathon, it's like, okay, there's days when the training sucks, but the fact that for the rest of my life, I can say that I ran a marathon is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, not many people can do that. Not
Yep.
many people can say that. And, you know, I mean, I think of, you know, when I look at my training and what I've done, you know, could I finish a 70.3 right now? Absolutely. I think that if they were to say right now, well, I think I would need a week to taper because I've kind of been pushing it on the bike with everything going on. But, you know, if they were to say here's, you know, I've tentatively got a 70.3 in July, but you know, whether that's going to happen or not is yet to be seen.
Right.
But, you know, I'm still training for it and still doing what I got to do. And, you know, I think I could go out and do that and finish. But, you know, then it's, you know, and that's what I want to do. I want to finish my first one. And then I just want to start getting better. I want to do better and show better and show improvement, you know, because, I mean,
What's the one you're doing in July?
One thing that it's in the one in July tentatively is in Chisago, Minnesota.
Okay.
And it's, from what I've heard, it's a real good beginning 70.3. Like I said, what makes me the most nervous is just the open water swim and just the swim in general.
Yeah, we got to talk about that before you get started. If you haven't swam in open water, it's a different animal.
Oh, and I have. I mean, I do,
Okay.
and it's you know, I've got the wetsuit, and we've got a reservoir here in town, and I'm thankful that last year we had an enormous amount of winter kill. So there was, I mean, dead carp and all that, and it's just the water stunk, and I'm like, I'm not going anywhere near that. I didn't even like to run on the path that went by it, but you know, I needed to warm up a few more degrees, and then, you know, I'm going to be able to get in there and hopefully be able to, you know, I've coordinated with the head. Like I said, my daughter's on the swim team, so I've gotten to know the head swim coach here at the high school here in town. So I've been working some with him, and you know, before the pandemic and whatnot, we were working together and doing some technique stuff. So he seems to think I'm ready to do it. It's just a matter of confidence, and
the pool is
you know, getting a couple of,
the water's like a lot. It is a lot of confidence. It's a lot, you know, and just, you know, I think you have to be confident that you can get in that water and go the distance and just relax. So, you know, I think a lot of people, they kind of just have a freak out moment when they first get in that open water, especially if you haven't swam around other people and you didn't do, you know, if you did most of your work in the pool, it's you know, it's a lot of people show up to their first triathlon and they have never been in open water before. And it can be surprising and shocking if you haven't been. Sometimes the temperature is too cold and you're just not used to that cold. There's a lot of things that could potentially go wrong if you haven't been in that open water. So I'm glad you're practicing out there.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, the scariest thing, and you said that you did a DNF, and that's the biggest worry that I've got, just with, you know, with the confidence level and with the mental health and things. And it's, you know, to pay the money that it would cost to do that stuff, and the travel and the time it's, you know, to get that DNF, it's like, oh, I don't even want to know what that would do to me.
Yeah. You know, the kicker with that DNF, and I know you start just kind of been with us now for a couple months, but so I had finished in 2017. I went back in 2018 because what happens is you get off of that, you finish the Ironman, and they're like, oh, sign up for next year, and you get money off. We'll save your spot. So you're like, ooh, I want to do it again right away. You sign up. And I kind of lost it a little bit. My diet didn't stick with it, and I didn't really train so hard. And I got there and I knew I pretty much knew, you know, I weighed 35 pounds more. It was really bad. And the problem was my daughter was there, and you would probably understand that too. Is like the whole thing was, what would be worse to show her, to not start or to go out and try and then not finish. And I think, you know, I wound up settling on, look, I just got to give it a shot. Who knows? Maybe I will finish. And I didn't. It's really hard out there in Lake Placid too. That course is, you know.
Oh, I bet.
The hills there are
I do want to do that one though. I definitely, that's on my bucket list.
Hey man, 2021, you know, as long as, you know, now I'm a little concerned with the coronavirus stuff now, that if they postpone this year, which I don't know if they will do, but if they do postpone it, that it might be sold out very quickly next year, but I'm going to go after it after 2021. Next year, I'm going for it.
I think that's kind of my thought is, once, and who knows where the foster care journey is going to go? Who knows how many kids I'll have by 2022?
You might want to get out of there. You might want to get out of there.
If you would have told me in 2017 when I started this whole process that I was going to have 4 kids cheering me on at my 2020 sprint, because this is the sprint that I did I'll do until I'm 80. It's just a fun environment. What really made me understand that fitness can be a motivator is I had my triathlon shirt on a couple weeks after I did the tri, and like I said, it was for a religious organization called Young Life. It just helps young kids, teenage kids get into camps and different things. And I was in a mall in one of the bigger towns in North Dakota, and he had saw my shirt and he said, did you do that triathlon? I said, yeah. I said, it was a great time. It was a great, group of people. He goes, because of you, I met God. Because of you, I saw God. And I thought, holy cow, like that was hugely powerful that I can, just by doing stuff like that. And, when I hear my kids say that, they want to be the youngest one to do it. And, I've got a firefighter buddy that his son ended up with a severe congenital heart disease where he needed a heart transplant like shortly after he was born. And so they did a 5K in honor of him. And I had told this guy, I said, I will guarantee you, I said, nobody will finish this race before me. And I made sure that, I was like, I will, I said, you and your family have hurt for a long time. I'm going to hurt for 25 minutes right now, and nobody's going to go before me. And
you trip them, you have to like push them down. No one could finish like at 20 minutes.
No, there wasn't. No, I wasn't going to finish in 20 minutes. That ain't going to happen. That I would have had to set up a tripwire on the bridge, but I gutted it more than I ever have. And the only disappointing part about that is I actually ran it so fast. My kids weren't expecting me at the time. So they didn't see me cross the finish line. Yeah. But I was minutes ahead of the next person in the race. And he was kind of giving me a hard time. The guy's like, no, this other guy crossed before you. And I'm like, no, he turned around because you guys marked this race really bad and he didn't know where he was going. So he turned around. And he admitted that. He's like, yeah, I had no idea where I was at. And I don't, to this day, I think it was the only time I've ever even come close to a sub 25 5K. I think I can get there again now that I've lost a little bit of weight and just become more muscular efficient. That's really what I've focused on. Yeah.
Let me ask you about training then, Mike. Let me ask you, I kind of wanted to go in terms of the kids and in terms of, it seems to me like, you train enough, obviously you train enough that you have that 70.3 in your sights. Do you use that do you ever obviously you said your kids ride with you when you run also, which I think is great. And your kids now are expressing interest in eventually being a triathletes as well. Are you sort of intertwining your own training with them to a certain degree? Are you like trying to keep on them? Are you trying to, I know my daughter went and saw Ironman. She's like, when I'm 18, I'm doing an Ironman. And you know what? I love that she said it. You know what I mean? You know where I'm going with it. There's too much Roblox. There's too much YouTube. There's too much, wasting time. Absolutely. That she's not paying attention. And I hope she tries. And if she does it, that's wonderful. But I just don't, I hate to say it because I'm her parent, but I don't see it. I have to, even me pushing her along, it's like, it's really hard to get that going. Have you tried to do that yet? Or are you like, what's your strategy? I figure I can get this from a teacher and maybe use it in some of my own family stuff.
Right. And ironically, a elementary track coach. No, that's I haven't really pushed. I've just more encouraged. Every kid's going to be different. And my little guy that said it, that said he wants to do he wants to be the youngest one to do it. And he wants to do triathlons like me. And he wants a triathlon. But that kid could not be more like me if I had a child with myself, which is awkward because, which is odd because he's, like I said, adopted, yeah. But, I just, all I do is I just encourage and, I don't give up. And, I've got a picture that my daughter had colored for me that I actually have sitting on my bike table, and my daughter loves to color. That's kind of one of her outlets, and it just says on it, "A winner is a dreamer who never gives up." And I laminated that. She's like, what are you taking? Like, she didn't think anything of it. And I'm like, no, that's pretty much how I'm living my life right now. Like, that's what I'm doing. So I just, keep encouraging, and it's like, if they say, "Hey Dad, can I run you?" Yep. I mean, if it means that I only get 2 miles on a day when I'm supposed to do 8, I don't care. I will adjust any workout to anything. So, when it comes to that.
So the last question, it seems to me like you just have everything all together. You're teaching, you're training, you have 4 kids, and judging from, what you said earlier about, mental health issues and trying to come out of that. Are you still dealing with those issues at all currently? Or have you kind of just said, this is how I've dealt with it? And how many times, I don't know, a month would you say you're just like, hey, you know what? I got to train. I don't really feel like training. I'm kind of like not in a good zone. Maybe there's a little depression or just not even depression, but something going on. And do you then use, is it like a strategy to use fitness as a coping mechanism? Or are you
Absolutely.
Beyond that now? Are you just like beyond that and looking, you know what I mean?
No, I don't think anybody that tells you that they get fully beyond a mental health issue, either A, never really had a mental health issue, or B, is kidding themselves. I always tell people there's a difference between having depression and being depressed, and there's a difference between having anxiety and being anxious. And having both of those, I deal with it every day. It's just a matter of using strategies. Fitness is one, and fitness is my probably most notable strategy. But I use different, self-talk therapies and do all kinds of stuff like that. I've definitely got other strategies when it comes to that. But, as far as dealing with it, I deal with that every day. And that's, where I do look at, okay, I've got 4 kids here that I've got to teach that, you fight and you win. You don't always win the battles, but you win the wars. And I don't win every battle. There's times when I do, like I was just telling, I just got onto my bike, a couple hours ago, and I was, I had finished prepping for the week, doing teaching stuff and whatnot. And so I Snapchatted a friend that just said, I'm trying to get the motivation to get onto my bike because I know I need to, A, because I want to get that, unemployed badge, but B, just because I want to, make sure I'm fresh and ready to do this, because I wanted, clear head, be able to really give honest feedback and honest information to people, because like I said, I think that it is so underused, and also being a first responder, I'm a volunteer firefighter as well. And that's where a lot of my focus has been when it comes to that, because, when you look at the 2 things that plague a fire department the most, it's and especially a volunteer fire department, it's lack of physical fitness and lack of mental health, dealing with it. Like I said, sure. you get a lot of people that, I'm a tough guy. I got this. I can handle this, but we've had, in the past couple of weeks, we've had a couple of tough calls, and they've really been trying and testing on some of that true, mental health capacity. And can I really get through that and get over it? And it's not a matter necessarily, like I said, of getting over it. It's just a matter of getting through it. And fitness is the most rewarding atmosphere, because a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll, when it comes to, I'm on medication, so I'm taking care of it. Well, I'm on medication too, and I still have things to do. And it's a matter of, what are you going to do about it? I saw a graphic that was probably the most impactful to me. It was a person laying in a bathtub with the water just to where their nose was sticking out. And that really talked about them. This person is drowning. This person is drowning. When in reality, all they had to do was sit up. And I don't want to use that example and say that dealing with mental health is easy, but in a sense, what I want to use it as an example is, what are you doing about it? And fitness is what I'm doing about it.
Yeah. And it's it's gratifying in a way too. I mean, it's when you see yourself improve over time, when you see all that hard work, it's not going to waste. You're staying healthy for yourself. You're staying fit. You're staying your heart rate comes down. Your blood pressure usually comes down. All that good stuff. It's you're doing something for yourself, but you're doing it for your family, your kids, all that stuff too. It's incredible.
Right.
It does, it lets you, I don't know. It's a good, I kind of ask that really for, not necessarily self-justification, but I feel the same way. I feel like a lot of times, I have a bike ride at night and it's like, you're having a crap day and things are going, and things aren't going right. And you're like, you know what, at least I got that tonight. And, and it keeps you from, hey, going out with the guys or going out and doing something, you know what I mean? You're like, you can focus on, tonight at 6:30, I'm going on the bike. And that, you got to get yourself away and you sweat it out and then you get off and you feel a lot better about it and you feel productive as opposed to doing anything that would be unproductive.
Well, and that's definitely something too, that's, and with our group rides and things, just having the group ride on Thursdays and then the group ride on Saturday mornings and whatnot, it's awesome to be able to look forward to that, just to be able to say, okay, I mean, even on a Monday to be able to say, okay, Thursday, I'm going to get my stuff done so I can just focus on just riding. Not like, I mean, it's not like we're sitting in there and it's not like any of us are going to win the Tour de France. We just have a good time and we ride together and we've got a bunch of different ability levels and we have good convo and it's fun and it's a great outlet.
Yeah,
and
it's
to be
teamwork.
Able to look forward to stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's a way to it builds teamwork in a sport that's very individualistic in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And it gives that, it gives camaraderie to where, we can, I mean, obviously in a triathlon and a competitive nature, you're not going to necessarily sit there and talk to people like we sit and chat or listen to your, live stream or do whatever we do. You're not going to have music trivia in the middle of a, triathlon. Still bitter that I got that one answer in late, by the way, but that's beside the point.
I know. I don't even have it on tape anymore because of the bandwidth thing. But
right, that's good. Then in that case, I got
we erased it from history.
I beat it. I beat everybody. But it's just being able to look forward to that, and so that's been a benefit of the group, and just having a lot of people just to talk to, whether and people that will just give answers and not care who you are. I tell my wife all the time that it's funny that. We as adults tell kids, be careful of who you meet online. Be careful,
That's true.
There's people, and I look at some of the most influential and best friends I have are people that I've met online.
Yeah.
I look at
good
a lot of that stuff. The closeness, with like you and with Matt and with Aaron and with, and all that stuff, and just being able to communicate with you guys and talk to you guys even outside of the rides and stuff. But you and I've never met. I've never met any of those guys.
Right. I'm learning about you right now, pretty much.
Right.
I didn't know. I didn't have any idea where this would go, and I'm. You know what? I feel like A, the conversation's been great, and B, I'm learning a lot about you, and this is all like impressive stuff. I mean, geez, it's impressive stuff. The resume you put here, and it's like. I think just even knowing you before this and now knowing that you're going after the 70.3 and you want to do that stuff, it's like it makes it so much more easier to cheer you on and root for you. And every time you show up for a ride and we go out and we ride together, it's going to be, it just makes it, I know what your goals are. So it makes it that much more personal, I guess,
Right.
Which is really cool. I felt like I wanted to, the other thing. So yeah, like I go, my daughter's 10. So we're in the same exact place where you mentioned, like, don't talk to people online. And I think for me, like I spend some time on Twitter. Twitter scares me. Twitter is like a different animal. Like you don't know who you're meeting. I feel like there's a lot of bots on Twitter. There's a lot of like strangers, weirdos. But the thing is, you can't fake a Zwift ID. If you're on Zwift, you're riding. You're not like lonely in your parents' basement or anything. You're not like it would take a lot of effort for a predator to hang out on Zwift and try to find, and not only that, but the people that you're going after are people, and I don't want to belittle anyone who might have problems that's an athlete, but athletes, I feel like, they're typically strong-willed. and some of it might be a product of the training. It helps you mentally to stay strong. And it would be less likely to kind of fall victim to something like that. I'm not saying that it couldn't happen. I'm just saying, that it's a bad place for a predator to hang out, Zwift. So I feel a little more comfortable meeting people.
Absolutely. But then I look at, I got associated with the group on Facebook and we
true.
just, we talk about, oh, be careful, this Facebook guy, this could be, a guy just talking to you, obviously, going into a marathon group with 1,200 people isn't as scary as, Bill Smith trying to give you a friend request and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
But
we've gotten a few weird ones like that too. Sometimes people join the group and then they post some stuff or they try to become friends with the people in the group. And we've had some issues here and there, but, once we pretty much squash them pretty quickly. Like I've gotten some messages cause I've tried as someone who has a podcast, I try to be social. And if someone friends me, typically I'll just take a look at their page. And if they look harmless, I'll just friend them back. But sometimes they look harmless and they're not, and they get a little weird and then they start friending my friends. And then I start getting, I get messages from, hey, you know this guy? And it's like, nope, not really. And then we have to shut it down quickly. But, I mean, I think as parents and especially you as a teacher, you got your spidey senses are up, right? You're like, oh,
right.
Anyone could be, a predator these days. But anyway,
right.
Listen, Mike, did the Jets pick already?
I actually haven't been paying attention.
All right, I'm gonna go find out.
I think something came up on my phone that the Vikings picked. So they traded up and I missed it. So now I'm really mad at you. So now I'm just gonna. Next week I'm gonna make you pull me up the hill.
All right. We'll just go slow then. But am I gonna see? I'm gonna see you tomorrow morning, probably at 9:00 on Matt's ride.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I'll be there. Looking forward to it. And look, thanks for joining the team. Thanks for meeting us out all the time on our rides and supporting us. It's been really cool getting to know more about you on the podcast. Thanks so much for coming around, Mike.
Well, and I appreciate the opportunity. Like I told you when we originally talked about it, I just, I want an avenue to get my story out and for people to understand, somebody that may be having some mental health struggles, whether it's just because of the COVID stuff or whether it's because of stuff that happened when you were 3 years old. It's this can be a way out. This can be a way to be able to combat that. And, just because you're a guy, just because you're a tough guy, just because you're an athlete, because you're a firefighter, because you're whatever, that the strongest people seek the most help. And that's the biggest thing. And that's, I'm proving that by coming to you guys. I'm doing this. I can ride my bike, but I'm coming to you guys for help. I'm coming to ordinary people for help. It's not like I'm, going to Scott Plews that's, this high end coach that, I'm going to pay thousands of dollars a month for. I mean, and that's not to knock any of you guys and the advice you give or anything like that. But, it's nice to be able to do that, to get, okay, what is a real life person going to do? Not a guy that's training for Ironman's 6 hours a day. And, I don't
professional
have
coaches, $10,000 bikes, all that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's a great point. And, it's, I think it's amazing what you've done. I think it's amazing, that you adopt in the way you do. And it's my pleasure to get to know you.
Well, and I appreciate that. Yeah. It's my pleasure to be able to connect with people and, just to bring the kids along too. Like I said, they like watching all of our stuff too. They like to watch, whether it's just a Zwift ride that I'm doing, they like to see the hills. And, my little guy likes it when we go in the volcanoes and he likes to see the lava and the fire and all that stuff. And, then I was riding one of the Central Park routes that the glass bridge goes over the baseball fields, and my 10-year-old is absolutely obsessed with baseball. So he's like, "Oh, that makes me want to go play baseball right now." And so it was a cool lead-in because then we got to go hit the new net in the backyard. So
nice. Well, listen, best of luck with the kids. Best of luck with your training. I'm sure we'll see you around. Obviously, I'll see you around tomorrow morning. And
absolutely.
And I know you'll stick with it. And we'll have to go at it at the FTP test again in a month or so. What do you think?
Nah, that sounds like a plan to me.
All right. Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on. Mike Romans, everyone. We'll be back.
For having me.
Oh, you're welcome, man. It's my pleasure. We'll be back at you probably early next week with another podcast. Hopefully I get this one out quickly. I think I'm going to try to get it out either tonight or tomorrow morning. Probably after the ride though. And I think that's all we got. I'm going to try to get another podcast guest for you guys next week. Hopefully we'll get him in and get you another guest for next week. Until then, remember, every day is an ordinary day unless you make it extraordinary. So get after it, guys.